Well, oh yeah, one last thing, yes, about this copium. Oh wait, we won't define anything clearly. Clearly, we won't define anything. But you did say something.
No, I can say what it is, right? Okay. You seem to be taking a lot of stock into it, but it really isn't about having a lot of stock in it. It's really simple, okay? What it means is really simple.
Yes.
It just means that you're engaged in some sort of behavior that denies something or complains about something that suggests a deep sensitivity about the issue at hand. That's all it means.
So coping is when you're sensitive toward issues.
Somewhat, yeah.
So if you are sensitive toward your family, you're coping about your family.
I wouldn't say it's like that, no.
Why are you twisting yourself into a pretzel about it? I just gave you an example. So if you're sensitive towards something, you're coping about it, right? So if I'm sensitive toward my grandmother and her falling down the stairs, and I'm sensitive, I'm coping. So if my grandmother dies and I'm sensitive toward hearing news of her death, I'm coping about my grandmother's death. Really? Is that something you would tell someone?
Not really, no, because that's obviously quite a sensitive issue.
So you indeed have contradicted yourself now, haven't you?
Not really. It's not really in the spirit of what coping means.
Well, okay, so now you're twisting yourself into a pretzel, pivoting and shifting the goalposts.
I don't think I am really, but
by the qualifications of the use of those accusations that you've leveled against me, that is precisely what you're doing now. Precisely what you're doing now.
Well, no. I'm just highlighting that this is what coping means, and you're saying, oh, if my gran died and I was upset about it, would that be coping? I'm saying, well, no, that's not really the spirit of what it means.
But how you would initially define the premise, which is how you've actually engaged in reasoning this entire time, is a dogmatic definition of the original premise. Ergo, when I say if you talk about Destiny's personal life, you've turned that into a dogmatic initial premise with which you can apply to things completely incomparable, then yes, I can use that same premise that coping equals being sensitive towards something. If your grandmother dies and you hear news of this, you're coping about your grandmother. You're coping. Oh, your grandmother tumbled down the stairs and now she's at the morgue. Coping. You're coping, you fucking bitch. Why are you coping about your grandmother? May she burn in hell.
Well, I mean, that's a bit of an extent. Okay, listen, you're clearly understanding, and I get it.
Coping.
I know you're very annoyed and you're trying to hide it.
Indeed, coping.
Okay.
Jolly-o, good fellow.
The basic point I'm trying to make is that you're accusing me of being a Destiny orbiter for covering his personal life, and I'm just highlighting to you the level at which you have engaged with Destiny in your time on Twitch.
Yeah, because you turned it. Yeah, because you turned it into.
That's my whole point.
You turned it into an. You turned it into an. You turned it into an. Hold on, because you turned it. You turned it.
I don't know. It's really weird.
Hold on, because you turned it into an incontextual, inflexible dogmatic premise.
Right.
I did the same thing. Okay. When I asked you to tell me what coping is, I gave you an example of something that falls under your definition of coping, but according to you, that's not twisting it into a pretzel. At that point, well, Hawes, of course it's not the same thing. Well, why is it the same thing for me to watch 5 minutes of Destiny's gym stream and you to be a Destiny orbiter?
It wasn't 5 minutes, you watched it for like 2 hours.
It's immaterial, right? 5 hours stream, whatever. For 2 hours, I watched Destiny, allegedly watched his gym. I don't even know if it's true. Allegedly, his gym stream, right? How is that comparable to you covering Destiny's relationships, personal, private relationships? I mean, it's just not comparable. Gyms are not personal in the same way or in a comparable way.
Like,
I mean, if someone, so for example,
you've spoken a bit like Erisan about Destiny and like private relationships. It's the same sort of level of what I've done.
Are you referring to the Zerka clip in which I vaguely ask, why is everyone talking about Destiny? Like, what is the big deal? Because they were talking about him, and I don't know why they were talking about him. Is that the one you're talking about?
But you have covered his private life, and that's fine. I don't care. But
hold on.
I'm trying to highlight
and in the same way,
that you've done yourself.
Fine. By the same use of reasoning you're engaging in, anyone who's expressing grief about their grandmother dying is coping.
I don't think I wouldn't agree that would be coping.
Then you would be twisting yourself into a pretzel. Then you would be twisting yourself in a pretzel, now wouldn't you? Because not really. By the same measure, Chud logic, by the same exact measure, I personally would not say that I cover Destiny's personal life in the sense that I charge you of doing this, right? But you're saying I'm merely shifting the goalposts and twisting myself into a pretzel. You are twisting yourself into a pretzel when you are saying that dear grandmother's life, when she tumbles down the stairs, down she goes, is indeed, and that someone expresses grief over this, that this is not copium, right? If, for example, if you don't want your child to be bullied at elementary school, you're just coping, right? If you don't want your child to die of a disease or sickness, you're just coping. Why? Oh, you're coping. Oh, you're not letting your child smoke marijuana or smoke crack. Okay, if a parent prohibits their child from smoking crack cocaine, is that coping?
I mean, are you like somehow suggesting that getting accused of caring about your viewers too much is the same?
No. You griddle yourself into quite the crumpet. If a parent is giving reasons why their child should not smoke crack cocaine, and the child goes, "You're coping, Mom. You're coping."
Okay.
Is that a reasonable response?
I don't think so. No.
So you define coping as being sensitive toward things, correct? Would you like to change your definition now that your definition has fallen flat?
I think there was a bit more to it than that.
Then your definition has fallen flat on its face, because it can clearly be applied to many other things.
My definition is clearly not stand by. Okay, then fair enough. That's fine. If you don't like my definition, okay.
It has fallen. I mean, it has objectively fallen flat. You cannot consistently apply it to many other scenarios. Okay. And I expect that. Well, should the child smoke crack cocaine?
I don't know. Sure, why not? Let the kids smoke crack.
Good, I'm glad we're not coping. And let's not care about if old Gran falls down the stairs or drowns in the bathtub.
Fuck Granny. Granny can get fucked.
And she drowns in the bathtub. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Or if old, 11-year-old Timothy has got a fork and looks into the outlet and decides that fork looks like it would fit right well into that power circuit and outlet, and tragedy befalls Timmy, and the parents are weeping and crying over the loss of their child, they are merely coping. And matter of fact, all childhood preventative safety measures indeed are a form of coping. I mean, when you tell your child not to put the fork in the outlet, when you have safety outlets and you have the plastic they put over it, those are actually... Those aren't safety mechanisms, they're coping mechanisms, indeed.
Okay, yeah, coping.
In fact, as a matter of fact, from a Nietzschean perspective, if we will, an Aristotelian, British Nietzschean perspective, it seems to me that a great deal of what we do as human beings, as a whole, right? Everything we do is coping. If we don't lie down and just accept the fate of destiny, not the streamer, mind you, I know you leech off of him, but destiny in the sense of fate and history. If we do not lie down and submit to fate, we're just coping, right? If we don't lay down in the grass, in the starry sky above, and merely submit to the will of the cosmos rather than resist, as Schopenhauer would put it, we're merely coping. That's copium, right? Anytime someone explains the brilliance or intelligence or tenacity of the human spirit against the tide of the overwhelming, fatal, thermodynamic heat death of the universe, and humans want to resist this entropy and want to create brilliant and beautiful things and create intelligent things and do grand things and resist and strive to be better and strive to will and strive to triumph, they're indeed coping. Genghis Khan, he should have merely stayed in his bed frame as an infant and never left, because as he conquered and roamed the steppes, at the end of the day, Genghis, he was merely coping. And it's very well fair to me that DGG would define.
Sorry.
It's quite fair to me.
It's important. I stepped away. Can you just go over that again? Can you just explain that again, please?
It's quite reasonable to me.
Sorry.
That Destiny's community. No, I've cracked the puzzle. It's a brilliant breakthrough. It's an archaeological breakthrough. Oh my God, it's like the discovery of Tutankhamun. So I've discovered the breakthrough. DGG calls everything coping that doesn't amount to passively being a consumer, a Reddit consumer who loves StarCraft and Star Wars and League of Legends and the Marvel Cinematic Universe and consuming soy and Reddit, and anyone who is not a passive consumer of the Great Reset is merely coping. The truckers in Ottawa, merely coping. The January 6th rioters, merely coping. Everyone who is trying to resist the tides of consumption and merely sit down and lie over on their back and accept what fate has in store for them, accept what the elites and the authorities have in store for them, is coping. Anyone who thinks for themselves and questions the authority, they're merely coping. Anyone who questions the mainstream narrative in any kind of way, merely coping. The entire enterprise of philosophy, one big copium. Plato himself, the ultimate coper of history, and the more complex philosophy has gotten, the more copium it's been injected with. Hegel, the finest coper in the history of the world, why didn't he just sit down and accept the sucking of his mother's teat passively as he gains the milk from his mother's teat and gains his strength and nutrients and bones? Everything is cope. The entire world is cope. Copium, copium, copium. British, Aristotelian, Nietzschean Satanism is the way. Reddit, soy, that is how we no longer cope. The more passive you are, the cooler you are. As our idol, Destiny himself says, we watch the streamer Destiny, he merely sits back and plays League of Legends. He doesn't even produce any content, because for Destiny to actually put effort into his streams would be copium. And moreover, Destiny himself in debates, he doesn't cope because he merely just says, okay. And that is indeed the premier way in which we resist copium. Yes, indeed, copium. Everything that's human is cope, and everything that grinds us into the dust out of which we came is true.
Can you say that one more time, please?
You see, indeed, Chud Logic, you try to impose your Anglo-American or Anglo-Saxon Reddit culture upon me. I'm a fine connoisseur. I know the ways better than even you do. You cannot outpace me. You cannot intellectually outpace me. I know your head better than you do. I understand you even better than you. I understand Destiny's viewers even more than they understand themselves. Because as you understand Chud Logic, you have gotten absolutely and unequivocally blown the fuck out. It seems he has conceded the debate at hand. He could not handle my levels. My levels severely outpaced him, and he could not even come close. He could not even come close. I've severely outpaced him intellectually in every possible kind of way. Tally ho, chap. You've been riddled into... He's deafened himself, but we know what that means. He's merely coped. For him not to merely submit to my speech would indeed amount to copium.